I'm not a fucking genius, but I've made a lot of money selling clothes, and I don't even know shit about clothes. If you're starting a brand from scratch, you're probably not the greatest designer in the entire world. It's probably best to take advice from someone who was one of the best designers in the world, Virgil, and use the 3% rule.
I'm only interested in editing something 3% from its original form.
Please just do something that'll work, because you can fuck up. Steal like an artist. I think around like 8th grade, I was kind of just like chasing pussy and doing normal shit more.
I feel like that's pretty early.
Is it?
Obviously now you help build awesome brands, right?
Yes,
you help
sir.
brands go from a couple $1,000s a month to hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars a month. You were working in a restaurant, right? When you got the opportunity to then go work with Same Potential, right?
Yep.
Quite a risk, right, that you took?
Yeah, it was a big risk. So the Same Potential story is,
dude, you just got back from China. That's crazy. I've always wanted to go over there. There's a lot of reason to. It's just so far, man. I feel like, why were you there in the first place?
Yeah. So I spent like a month in China. It was, the only thing I have to say first is the food is absolutely dog shit. So if you're planning on going to China or staying in Guangzhou, anybody out there, there is an Outback Steakhouse, and it will be your savior. Just trust me. Just Google it on fucking Google Maps, because, dude, yeah, the food was terrible. The city, the nightlife, all that stuff was amazing. Like, the city I stayed in for the most part was called Guangzhou. And yeah, the nightlife, everything was fucking cool. It's probably like the size of a Chicago or an Atlanta maybe. And that's like the manufacturing hub in China. So that's what I was there for, obviously. Yeah, I'm in clothing.
I see all these, so I know a lot of people that go over there often, and they always post about it. It looks crazy modern. It looks like the tech, and it just looks like a city of the future, right?
Yeah.
Or every city that I've seen my friends in. But yeah, what do you mean the food is dog shit? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Bro, like, even if you go to like KFC, they literally have duck feet. Like, you know how you get the fucking bucket of chicken in America? Bro, they have like buckets of duck feet. Like,
you don't fuck with duck feet?
come on, man.
Is it healthy at least? Or
No,
is it just
no.
extremely unhealthy?
No, it's all, there's not really any healthy food because they don't really eat protein. We were talking about how, like, this is maybe like racist, but their bone structure in their face and their body is like, you can tell they don't have a very protein dense diet. Like, and when you eat there, even the food that is protein, it's ass. Like,
you would think that if a country or like a group of people is maybe behind in terms of nutrition, that would kind of show signs in a lot of other, what's the right way to put this? Like
they wouldn't be so productive.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but
it's all cigarettes.
Really?
Yeah, they smoke a lot of cigarettes. I actually smoke cigarettes.
What was the air quality like over there?
Bro, honestly, it wasn't terrible. Like, I didn't notice it. The only thing is I did see smog one of the days. It just like rolled in. And it was just fucking smog. Like, you couldn't, you couldn't see anything.
Interesting. I mean, LA has smog.
Yeah.
Lots of cities have smog. But yeah, I always hear like, yeah, the air quality is horrible over there. But who knows, man? Everything I've heard sounds awesome, right? Every time people come back and I talk to them about it, they're like, bro, it was so cool. It's nothing like I expected.
Yeah, it is nothing like I expected. Yeah.
What's different about it? Like, what's the main, what were you really shocked by?
I was shocked by, obviously, you know, like the stereotypes about how they say like the manufacturers and the factory workers and all that. It's like not good or whatever, like sweatshop type of shit. Bro, like, it's really nice. Like, the way that they have the supply lines and all that shit set up is like not bad quality. The people are not working in like bad working conditions. All the like propaganda and stereotypes that the government talks about is like pretty much not true. Like the driving stuff, I don't know. I think maybe the social credit score is a real thing. But like,
what's that?
The social credit score? You don't know about that?
No.
You've never heard of that?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't know exactly what it is, but they say that like if someone drives bad or is like fucking acting bad in like a bar or something, that it affects their social credit score. Or if they jaywalk, like that's the thing. Like, there's cameras everywhere and it'll affect your social credit score. Like, you can't live in certain places. But that was just like completely false. Like, that doesn't exist at all.
That sounds like something out of a video game.
No, but
or like a futuristic movie.
Yeah.
So there is a social credit score there, or there's not?
Maybe, but it doesn't like work how they say. The driving there, they don't believe in like lanes or anything like that. Like, they're just driving.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's
actually,
insane.
yes. So my dad we talked about this. My dad's a doctor, but he's tried to start a couple of businesses, and he used to go over there a lot. And he told me this one time, he was in a cab and he saw like a family of 6 on a motorcycle get smoked by a car. Like, he just saw them like get taken out, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, oh, okay. He just went back to business. Like, that was normal.
Yeah. In America, like when you see a wreck, it slows down. There you'd see like a fucking wreck, and the people would get out of the car and just get right back in their car and drive off. Like they wouldn't even call the police.
Were people nice over there? Like, what was the hospitality like? Well, were people nice to, especially like American? You're white, obviously, like Americans, you know.
They definitely looked at me like, even for a white person, I feel like I look not super normal. So they looked at me kind of like I was an alien in the street and stuff. Especially like during the daytime. This is also something super weird. During the daytime, when you're out with like the working class people in China, they're like short, like how Americans think Chinese people are very short. When we would go out to the clubs, it would be like more wealthy people. And I don't know if this was just my experience or if this is actually how it is. They're way taller. Like I felt shorter in the club in China than I do in America.
Well, there's definitely a somewhat of a social class over there.
100%.
I would assume like
it's way more disconnected.
Yeah, like the wealthier people are probably taller. For whatever reason, I don't know. That probably goes back like thousands of years or whatever. That's interesting though. So what were you actually doing over there?
Yeah, so I was there. Basically, I'm in clothing. I guess we didn't really do too much of an introduction, but I'm in clothing. I used to run a marketing agency, and now we're partnering and acquiring brands. And also, like the reason that I went there was because I don't just want to own the brands. I want to own like the entire process from factory to 3PL to brand, and then also some service-based businesses as well. But yeah, I was there to make partnerships and either buy into factories or do some sort of sweat equity deal. And I ended up partnering like a minority partnership with 2 factories over there. And that was the main purpose of the trip, which is crazy. I got pretty much all the work done I needed to do. I was there for a month and I pretty much finished everything within like a week. But yeah, it was good. I was telling you in the car earlier, we were talking about shoes. I was asking you if you wanted to make shoes, and it was really interesting. And for anybody out there in brand, like owning a brand or whatever, making like a washed hoodie actually has more steps than making a shoe or a hat, which I feel like not a lot of people think is how it is.
You said the margins are also much better. I feel like people are way more willing to pay $150 for a nice pair of shoes versus $150 for a hoodie. Even if 100%. Even if the cost of goods are really high on a hoodie, which they are, especially if it's really custom, acid washed, you got like tears. Like if you make a really nice hoodie, people still get really upset at really high prices. But a question that I have, just because I've heard this a lot, everyone tells me like the way that the Chinese do business, it's very heavily focused on in-person deals.
Yeah.
And I know we were kind of talking about that the last time we were on the phone. Mm-hmm. How much of a difference did it make going out there to meet with these people in person versus like a Zoom or a phone call?
It was actually a massive difference. So that's funny that you say that, the in-person deals. Another thing that they do, which is super old school, is when you sign those contracts, you're supposed to have a seal. So in America, I've never done that. We just do fucking DocuSign or whatever.
Yeah.
But there, they were like, "Where's your seal?" And I was like, "What?" But what's crazy is, before I was meeting a friend of mine and he actually made me something with my logo, like some little like trinket, and it wasn't supposed to be used as a seal, but I literally was like, and I went in my bag and it literally had like my company logo, and I used that as a seal, which is actually funny as fuck. And now from now on, that'll be the only thing I use for my seal.
And you just like dip it in wax or something?
Yeah, it's like they have this little like red fucking ink thing that you just dip it in and then put it on the contract.
Interesting.
But, yeah.
So how did you get connected with these guys, right? How did you like walk me through what this whole process was like?
Yeah. So you are right about them liking to do in-person business, because over the phone, it's like, text, whatever.
And they'll probably try and like screw you.
Yeah. Their main thing is they want to make as much money off of you as possible. But once
the bargaining, right? Not screwing, I guess.
Yeah. Once I went out there, they definitely, and even after coming back, they treated me like very, very differently. They were super nice, super hospitable.
So we just got great new manufacturers. We're probably amateurs compared to most of their clients, but they were saying, come out here for 2 weeks and we'll work on all your products for the entire year and just bang them out.
So yeah, I was actually out there with, do you know the brand Vague Studios?
Yeah.
Sage is like good friends with them.
Okay, yeah.
I was out there with them. I was going to go solo the whole trip. And they came for like,
scary now.
I don't know. I was like, fuck it. But they came for the first like 2 weeks. And then I stayed the last 2 weeks by myself. But they did literally their entire 2025 production prep in 2 weeks in China. Yeah. So it's all done.
That's crazy. That's an investment though. Like, I mean, even a ticket, how much was like a plane ticket out there?
It was actually pretty cheap. It was like $1,100.
Oh, wow.
The problem is the visa. The visa is like, I went through like a company and I fucking beat the buzzer. I started it like 2 months before my trip and I didn't get my visa back until like 3 days before I left.
Oh, wow. So I got to start planning this now pretty much.
Yeah. Well, it should be faster. The vague guys did their shit at the same time and got it back like 3 weeks before I did. The guy like fucked up my paperwork, which is ridiculous because I paid an extra fee to go to the fucking agency.
So you think it's like, it was extremely valuable trip, 100% worth it?
100%.
And you think I got to get out there?
I think you should. Yeah. I think I was actually thinking about getting a apartment out there because it's cheap as shit. That's another thing I was going to say. Everywhere I went, Maybachs, I had a driver, like I got a chauffeur in a Maybach everywhere I went.
What?
Spent money like kind of crazy, and I spent $3,000 in an entire month there.
Wow.
Which is crazy. If you lived the same lifestyle I lived there in America, it would probably be like $20,000 in expenses. So yeah, you should go. Like it's cheaper than you would expect. Like,
I'll bring the videographer. I feel like that'd be cool content.
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's talk about Jared's lore a little bit, right? We kind of just jumped right into it. You just came back from China. That's exciting. You know, I know a little bit about your lore, but I think the viewers want to hear. Obviously, now you help build awesome brands, right?
Yes,
you help
sir.
brands go from a couple $1,000s a month to hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars a month in some cases, right? But where did this all start? Where were you like 5 years ago today?
5 years ago, let's see, I'm 22 now. I was what, 17, 18?
3 years ago. When did like...
No, this is good
a great-
because the story kind of started 4 or 5 years
Oh,
ago.
okay. So I guess I'll ask that. But right before, how did you make your first dollar in general in life? And then how did you make your first dollar as an entrepreneur?
What's funny is my first dollar I made in life was as an entrepreneur.
Oh.
So I used to make like, you know, those sports edits, but not like the videos, like the ones that are like a graphic design kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do that in like 7th grade. And I made myself a logo for like my profile. Or no, I didn't make it. Some kid, I found him on like, this was maybe even before Fiverr. I paid him through PayPal like $10 to make me a logo. And I was like, wasn't making any money from making the sports edits. And then somebody DM'd me and was like, hey, did you make your logo? And I just lied and said yes. And they're like, can I pay you to make one for me? And I was like, yeah, it's $30. And they're like, okay. And I white labeled that kid and probably made like 100 logos when I was in 7th grade, just selling his graphic design work. And I did so much cold outreach through Instagram DM. It was ridiculous. Like I was sending like 50 DMs a day. Yeah. So that was like the first money that I ever made on the internet or regardless. Yeah.
And then that's what got you into entrepreneurship, or did you have any like normal traditional jobs that you were?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I did get into entrepreneurship, but then I think around like 8th grade, I was kind of just like chasing pussy and doing normal shit more. And then I got a job, my first job.
8th grade?
Yeah.
That wasn't even fucking, I don't even, that's pretty early. I feel like that's pretty early.
Is it?
I mean, to call it that, chasing, like I was into girls when I was in 8th grade, but I don't think I was actually like having sex until like at least halfway through high school. Maybe I was late. I don't know.
I feel like where I grew up, like in the South, it was more common.
Okay.
But yeah, then after that, I got my first job when I think I was like 15 at Ingles. Shit fucking sucked. But I worked jobs like always after that. Like once I got my first job, I didn't quit my job until I was making money, like good money on the internet, probably more than 10K a month.
Yeah.
And I worked always, usually multiple jobs. After I graduated high school, I had like 2 or 3 jobs always.
And then I think I remember seeing somewhere that you were working in a restaurant, right? When you got the opportunity to then go work with Same Potential, right?
Yep.
Tell us about that story, because I'll let you explain it, but quite a risk, right, that you took?
Yeah, it was a big risk. So the Same Potential story is basically the owner of Same Potential was trying to buy out his partner, and me and him had just been friends, and he knew that I was just like good at doing shit on the internet, but I wasn't making a lot of money. So he asked if I would come in. He told me he'd pay me a $1,500 a month retainer. And at the time, I was probably making $6,000 or $7,000 a month working in fine dining, and I was living in an apartment where my rent was like $1,500 a month. And I just remember I called my dad, and I was like, "Yo, I got this opportunity, blah blah blah." He's like, "Well, how much are they gonna pay you?" And I was like, "It's like $1,500 a month." And he was like, "Absolutely not. Like, you're gonna you don't have enough money in your bank account to sustain that for like so long." And I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna take it."
How much money did you have in your bank account? It's a good question. How much runway did you have?
This was probably when I was 18 or 19. What's crazy is I actually graduated high school with like $25,000 in my bank account, but I was less at this point, probably 15 or 20 maybe.
So maybe like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, 3, 4, 5 months.
So you quit a restaurant job with pretty good income, 3 or 4 months of runway to work a job that's paying you like 25% as much.
Yeah, yeah. And then I ate shit. Like I didn't try to make more money for a while. Like I spent like 4 months just losing money every month, trying to learn. And then was it January? When did we start the Saint Studios thing? Yeah. So I think I started at like in like an August or something like that. And then, bro, like around January time, I was like damn near dead broke. Like I had very little money in my bank account. And we started something which was like a collaborative project in Same Potential, like a content agency. And again, I was back doing the fucking DMs, cold outreach. And then I started making more money, like 5, 6, 7, 8,000 a month off that.
Isn't it crazy? And I hear this over and over and over from almost every single person I have on, or any of my friends who are entrepreneurs. It's crazy how almost every story includes like, you get so close to broke before things change, right? Like it's not like a constant climb. It's usually like you're a couple weeks away from zeroing out. And then it happens. It was the same thing with me too. Like I graduated college, I didn't get a job. I was like, I'm going to do social media. I'm going to work on my business. I wasn't even profitable at the time. Like we were barely doing 20K a month. Actually, we were profitable, but we were putting it all back in. And I think I had like, maybe $1,000 left in my bank account when the TikTok creator fund started. And then I did 14K in 1 month.
Was that the same? That was the same time as TikTok Shop or no? That was before
TikTok Shop.
Okay.
But once again, it's all a wave, right? So like I was making no money for 2-3 months out of college. Everyone's like, you're an idiot, whatever. Creator fund happens. Then I make like 14K first month, right? Business starts doing well finally, first 50K a month. And I'm like, oh my God, bro, like I'm doing all these calculations. Like I'll be making like 250K a year, honestly, with this kind of growth rate, all this. Every single month I start losing money. Creator fund, right? Just goes down, down, down. And then once again, I was like literally 2,000, 3,000 away from going broke. Boom, TikTok Shop comes out. I do 15K in my first month, like commission. And I just feel like that's a typical story. It's like I always like to look at life like a mountain, right? You're climbing, you hit a peak. This is awesome. Boom, ravine. Right when you hit the bottom, when everything feels like, oh my God, this fucking sucks. What am I going to do? Is usually when that reverse starts happening.
Yeah, it's super weird how that works, because even like in the last probably 3 months, the technical money in the business went down a little bit, or like kind of stayed the same. But now we have like so many more systems in place, employees, all that shit. And now like coming into Q4, you know what I mean? It is like super like this always.
It has to be. Everyone thinks it's like a constant climb up, but it's not. You know, on the topic of like you quitting your job to take this risk, right? I have a friend out here in Austin, makes good money. I think he said he makes like 60 or 65 a year, decent job.
About the same as what I was doing then.
About the same, yeah. It's like a traditional 9 to 5, I think. I think he works for the government or something. But he said he got offered to go work for this young stud entrepreneur, and I think the pay is like $2,500 a month.
That's so like crazy. That's exactly what I got upgraded to like a month or two after working at Same Potential.
Yeah, so like less than half of what he's currently making.
It's the exact same situation.
Exactly. And he's like, what do you think, bro? Should I do this? And me personally, my advice was ask yourself 2 questions. Do you trust this guy? Do you trust that he's going to create something out of nothing? Do you trust that he's going to take care of you if you put in the work? And number 2, do you trust yourself that you're going to put in the work, that you're going to be valuable?
Did he take it? Or is
I don't
he
think
in
he's
the
decided
process
yet.
Okay, so
but,
I'll have a
what's
question.
Your advice for someone like that?
I have a question I could help him decide. Does he have a skill that he could walk into that business and already provide, or is it more of like an assistant role? Or like,
I don't know. I think it's a sales type role, but that's a great question. I mean, at the end of the day, like you working hard doesn't mean shit. Like you got to provide value.
And I was just going to say also, like if it is a place where he can either learn a new skill or hone in on his skill that he already has, like if you're going to be an assistant, I would say maybe not. But for anybody out there, like that was by far probably the best choice I ever made in my life, because the amount of shit that I learned in like 4 months, and also like most people, if they were getting paid that shit of money, like $1,500 a month, like they probably would be like, yeah, I'll just do what I'm asked. Like
bare minimum. Yeah.
I was working. That was probably the hardest I ever worked in my life. Those 4 months, the least amount of money I've ever made in my life. Those 4 months, I probably literally worked 12 to 16 hours every single day, because he would just add me to, a Facebook ads manager, a Shopify or whatever. And I had never seen business at like a plus 7 figures going to 8-figure type of brand. So I was just downloading like every piece of fucking information I could. And like, that's why I kind of speed ran once I started my own thing, like first month of starting my business.
What was that learning curve like for you? What advice do you have for anyone who's young, who might have the opportunity to like take on a challenge like that, but has no idea what they're doing?
Bro, I mean, I think that the faster you can become disconnected from money, like mattering. I know that like for people who haven't made money before, that probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But like the faster you can realize that money is not real is the faster you can progress in everything that you're doing.
I agree with you on that, on what you just said, because I felt the exact same way at the beginning. Of course, when you're broke, you're like, that's what I need. But then once you make a little bit, you start to realize like the more you focus on the money, the more that's going to be the issue. Whereas if you actually focus on like where the money comes from, which is the product, the result, the service, whatever, that's how it comes.
I would say also, I just saw like a clip on Instagram of the Tate brothers, and they were like, the reason that I'm so successful is because right now you're comfortable. I was never comfortable. Like, I was fighting for my survival. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they said. And I think that's also why I had success, because I never felt safe or comfortable my entire life until I was 21 years old, and I made it for myself. So it's like, I know even right now, if I were to go back to absolute rock bottom, dead broke again,
You'll be fine.
I already did that shit before. It's like, you know what I mean? It's not a scary thing. The people who kind of lived like, oh, their life was good, they had no problems, like now they have a nice job, they're comfortable. Those are the type of people who I think it's harder, because it's like your brain is meant to keep you alive. Like it wants you to survive. So like you're directly going against the hardwiring in your own brain. Like for me, I don't really have a fucking choice. It was like, I wasn't going to work a fucking restaurant job forever. I didn't go to college. So it was like,
oh, you didn't go to college?
No, I went to community college. Okay. It's called Georgia Highlands for any of the people in Georgia. You know, you have no idea what that is.
Good life.
Yeah. But I went there for like a month, and I think I made a bet with my math professor on like if I can make a certain amount of money from the internet that I could drop out. And he was like, okay, I'll take that bet. And then I did. And then he was like, all right. And I dropped out.
But then you went to work at a restaurant.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm happy I did it.
Yeah,
that didn't work.
For sure. I also think restaurant jobs are great because they teach you a lot about like people skills and just understanding like how rude people are. I worked at 3 restaurants in high school. So I think that's a valuable part of that growth. But okay, that brings up a good question I have. So you said you were struggling for a long time.
Yeah.
Always having like this inherent level of stress of like, am I even able to take my foot off the brake, right?
Yeah.
At what amount of money in your bank account were you finally able to say like take a breath, like I can chill now? What number was it for you? Was it 50K, 100K, whatever?
I don't think I had it wasn't like I felt like I could chill, but I remember it was New Year's of maybe this year, 2024. I think it was New Year's. I didn't go out. Like I had people inviting me, go here, and I just made a choice. I was like, I want to sit in my apartment by myself, and I just got out a pen and paper and put in earbuds, and I was just gonna write. I don't even remember what I was gonna write, but I just remember sitting there, and I like took a deep breath, tried to get into like a meditative state, and I just looked around, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, and I wasn't even living in a nice apartment. Like I had a big loft, like a pretty big, nice loft, and I had a decent car. I think I probably had like, I don't know, somewhere like 80 to 120 in my bank account, like my personal bank account at that time. And I was just like looking around like, what the fuck just happened? Like 2 years ago, I was living in the west end of Atlanta, like an extremely ghetto area, in like a 3-bedroom house with 4 or 5 people in it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, it's not like I'm rich, but I just remember being like,
you're very rich for your age, for sure, though.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're on the fucking internet, so I feel fucking broke for my age. But
there's always like someone that's our age that's worth $100 million.
I always see the clips of that motherfucker who has the Snapchat show, the like 19-year-old who makes like $1 million a month.
Oh yeah, like, I just dropped a podcast with his business partner. Yeah,
dude. Every time I see the clips of those guys, I'm like, man, why the fuck am I doing this?
You
shit?
just bro.
I know you can't.
You can't compare. So, bro, I have friends that are. I mean, you probably know some of them as well that are our age, maybe even a little younger, that are worth over $100 million.
Yeah.
But here's what I like to look at it as, like a lot of these guys that have made tens of millions, hundreds of millions, even just a few million at a young age, in almost every single scenario had to sacrifice something else. So like for me, like I'm probably like technically I might be worth a couple million because my business, like in terms of the numbers, but you know, I've never had more than like 30 or 40K in my personal checking ever, right? I just don't believe in like stocking up money in there.
Yeah.
But that being said, like I had an awesome college experience. Like I'm very social. I know a ton of people. Like I've had the girls experience. I've had the friends experience. I had the whole frat leadership. Like I've gotten pretty good at other areas of my life.
Yeah.
Most of these guys that have made millions of dollars in their early 20s usually have no idea how to socialize.
Yeah.
Because they've given up those years in order to make money. And at that point, you kind of just like, maybe that is the better way to go. I'm sure some people are going to be like, well, I'm fucking broke. I wish I had their life, but they don't have any friends. They're learning how to do that for the first time now.
Yeah. Also, I think too, like, do I wish I had $10 million in my bank account right now? Probably, yeah. But also, like, this shit's kind of fun. Like, that kid who's 19 and was really, I believe he probably is making like millions or hundreds of thousands per month. And I look at the video of him on a podcast and I'm like, damn, like, he made that much money. He's not really a man yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not like shitting on that kid. He's probably he could shit on me all he wants. Yeah. I'm nowhere near as rich as him, but I am kind of happy that I didn't make it that fast because I feel like it's kind of molding the man that I'm going to become. And I also feel like I'm learning how to build like real businesses. Like I didn't have like a come up off of something like that. Like I never had like a crazy 0 to 300,000 in 1 month. You know what I mean?
That kid's also a savant. Like that kid's insanely impressive.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying. I think there is some value in growing over time and building that money over time. That way when you're in your late 20s and you're a man and you're actually a man and you have a ton of money and you've had that success, I think that's going to be like the most enjoyable part of your life, to be honest, versus like, bro, what do you even do with tens of millions of dollars when you're 20 years old? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just us making excuses for not being there yet. But
that's what I was about to say. These kids are probably watching this video being like, fucking pussy.
Yeah.
Like, catch up when you're 29, faggot.
Yeah. So how many successful brands have you helped scale today? Like, I know you're pretty lean. You don't work with too many businesses, but so let's talk about like who you've worked with a little.
I guess I'll say, I mean, success is really what you determine it, but I guess like the track record. So the screenshot on my Instagram, it says 10 million, 11 brands, 365 days. It's actually not true. One of the brands got acquired by a private equity fund and they kicked us out of the triple L and all their shit. So it should say 16 million.
Wait, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Wait, tell me about this. This is interesting because I've always been fascinated by private equity, just buying up companies and seeing like how that process works.
Beats. I mean, so it started out, they were kind of like came in and said
it's a clothing brand?
Yes, it was.
Can you tell us more about like what is the business, how you got involved?
Okay, yeah.
Walk us up to that point.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a sour story for me. I told you a little bit about it before, but yeah, we found this brand. We actually got introduced by a mutual friend, which is how most of our business came about. He was doing like 20 or 30K a month at the time. It was a European brand and they were selling like blanks. And then we came in July, August, and then we did like, I remember we were doubling like every month. And you asked me how they did that, like able to order inventory. It was because he had like a really good personal connection with his manufacturer and it was manufactured in Europe. So the production time was only like 2 weeks. And the guy was kind of fronting him inventory because he had a good personal relationship. But yeah, we took them from 20 or 30K a month, I think, to we did $1 million in November of that year. So it was like 5 months. And then right around like February, March of the next year, the people started to come in and they kind of like, they did it really, really smart too. They didn't say they were a private equity firm, or we didn't know at least. So like the dude who owned it knew. I'm sure he knew.
Yeah.
But we didn't know. We were told that it was like a CRO person who was going to come in and help, and they needed access to all this stuff.
There you go.
So bro, they fucked the shit out of us. Like
Damn.
We had built this ad account up like so many, and obviously like running ads isn't like
of course they're going to want their own people though. I mean,
yeah. But so yeah, they came in and we were super cool with the guys, like didn't know what was going on. And then like one day we were just out.
Log in.
Yep. And that was it. And that one really hurt. But also I was telling you.
Was the business owner like, I mean, what was that relationship like with the business owner? How did that conversation go?
I'm trying to think. I'm going to be honest. I don't think we talked until probably 3 or 4 months after. He talked to my partner, Carter. I didn't have any words for him. I was
You're just like, damn, I helped you scale this, and then he just sold it. I mean, but it's his
and
business.
He didn't even
like,
sell it either. He basically took, they came in to do the same like thing we were doing and then some, and they got equity. So like he didn't sell the whole business. He took on like a partner.
Probably got bought out a little bit.
Yeah. So fuck, I forget what I was gonna say. But yeah, also we didn't have, like, now hindsight being 2020, which is why we changed the business model. That happened February, March of this year. And now we're doing the same thing those guys do, acquire brands, partner with brands, getting equity. But at the time, when we started with that brand, we had no business like coming in being like, we want this % equity, because we had never done $1 million a month with a brand before. So like, how the fuck are we going to walk in and demand, like hindsight being 2020, we should have along the journey when we were like, holy fuck, this is the craziest KPIs I've ever seen. But we were young. It was our first massive like growth like that. But now that's why we, lessons, like it stings a little bit, but I'm cooler with the guy now.
Nice.
Like after it all happened.
And then you kind of touched on it, but so you started with this ad agency.
Yeah.
Now what are you building? This private equity firm?
Yeah.
Of sorts.
Yeah. Of sorts. Baby private equity. I people fucking comment on my Instagram, like, you're not in private equity. It's like, well, technically, like that's the way the business is structured, I guess, but it's not like I'm fucking BlackRock. But, so we started the Saint Studios thing. It was me, Connor, and Jagger, and it was kind of like a service-based business with same potential, making content for brands. I had never started an agency before, didn't even know what an agency was, saw that it worked and we can make money very fast. And we were just making like TikToks, ad creative, shit like that. And we did it for like 3 or 4 months, and I was making like killer money. I was like, this is awesome. And Jagger was like, oh, this isn't making that much money. I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, fuck. Because then I would be back to making only the $1,500 or $2,500 a month. And so I was like, fuck it. I'm going to just do the same shit, but instead of content, like e-com shit. So I did, I think the first month, I think I made like $12,000 or $15,000, and it was all percentage based because I didn't have a track record. I couldn't say like, pay me this retainer. So we did that for like, I guess a year or 2 years, like that type of model. And then obviously that happened February of this year. And then we were like, maybe we should figure out a better way to do this.
Because it's a good cash system, but it's not building any long-term equity. It's not building anything you can sell. It's not building
100%. Yeah.
You might help a brand scale for 5 years. They're the one that gets the big check.
Exactly. So we almost were already building a private equity company, just we didn't have any equity. Because we didn't have 100 clients. We had 11 brands, and we made a shit ton of money because all of our stuff was percentage based, but like we had no equity in any of those brands, which is a big fucking problem because every single, like I told you, that portfolio, the year screenshot said $16 million. Every single one of those brands, except for one, was at 20 to 30K a month when we started working with them. So like clearly that's fucking massive growth.
So you scaled multiple different brands from like low 5 figures to high 6 figures and up in a couple of months.
It was over like the year. So we got basically we got most of our clients within like 2 or 3 months. And then we were like, we don't want more clients. We want to grow these brands. And that's how we went about it. And then
what was your strategy to grow these brands? Like at high level, what was your overall strategy? Why was your ad system like, bro, I've gone through probably 4 different ad agencies today. Like what did you guys do differently?
Hang on, can I go piss really quick? And then you can ask that question. Yeah, you were going to ask me, what's the strategy?
All right, yeah, Jared had to piss real quick. But question I had was, so you've worked with multiple brands. You've scaled them from, like 10, 20, 30,000 a month to multiple hundreds of thousands every single month. Obviously, it's a really complex system, but overall, high level, what's the strategy?
I would say the system is not that complex. It's just building a business the way it's supposed to be built, building funnels. And I think that the reason we had so much success so much faster was solely because of the way we actually structured our agency. Because, working with other agencies, they are building their business. This is where we fucked ourselves, but the reason that the brands grew so large, I could not tell you how to build a successful agency, but I could tell you how to build a successful brand. You know what I mean? So like most agencies' priority is build the agency. Our priority wasn't like, that's why I say like, it's kind of weird the way we did shit. It wasn't by any book. I had no mentor. I was just fucking doing stuff.
Yeah.
And like, I know how to build brands. I do not. We had no client acquisition system for the agency. We had no like really employees for a long time. It was just us doing shit. That's why I think a lot of agencies don't do so well. And I know I've seen so many agencies in my specific niche rise and fall over the last 2-3 years. And it's because when the agency is up and coming and the person who started it is still running the ads or doing whatever, then it's a fucking good agency, you know?
Yeah.
But once the agency grows and they start hiring,
The
and they start doing
22-year-old
this,
kid who doesn't know what he's doing.
yeah, and it's like that. Why, you know what I mean? You just have some kid doing your stuff. Like they've never done anything. They probably just hired them. It could be their first job, or they're probably not that good. You know, the agency's just trying to make money. I think that we weren't doing some rocket science shit. Like building a real business is not a fucking, you know, I mean, I guess I can say it's not rocket science, but it is complex. There's a lot that goes into it. But I think really the main reason we had a lot of success was because we really weren't building our agency. We were building brands, and we just had long-term percentage contracts, and we were making a shit ton of money, like cash-wise. So yeah.
You're helping with the actual business.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I remember, so for context, like I worked with Jared for a little bit, and we didn't even know what we were doing ourselves. And then we went and switched with a different agency. But the second agency I used, I remember it was very simple. We get on the meeting. This is your ROAS. This is how much you spent. This is how much it made. I'm going to switch around some stuff on the back end this week. Try it out. That's every single week. I'm going to change some stuff, see what happens. I'm going to change some stuff, see what happens. They weren't actually giving me actionable items to make my stuff better because I was only paying them $2,000 a month. Like, why would they? Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what's interesting too, is because I remember when we really never even got to go crazy with you guys, because didn't you have like a ban and a cap, and then your TikTok shop just fucking sold out all of your inventory, and that was like basically our working relationship.
Yeah.
So like, I think in grand total, you probably paid us like $1,000 or maybe $2,000, and we worked for like 2 months and did so
appreciate
much
that,
stuff.
by the way.
No, it's all I that's what I'm happy doing, because like I've never wanted someone to give me their money. Like that just feels so weird. Like even all of our agency contracts were, and actually what's funny is we did like a special, you're the only person that I ever gave a different contract off of what we normally did, because I was just like,
you hit me up. You were like, I want to help, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
You know,
and I fucked with your content, and I just really wanted to be a part, like you say, like find somebody who you want to be a part of what they're doing. And I just wanted to be a part of it. So we get, what was ours? It was like percentage of, because all of our deals were percent top line.
It was a percent of top line.
No, ours wasn't top line with you. It was,
I think it was a percentage of
rev gen tracked. That's what it was. And that was the only time I ever did that.
Yeah, and we had all these issues with tracking, which is just natural and everything.
Yeah, your shit was still the most fucked up.
It was so weird. I don't even know the answer to that, but I get what you're saying, because this is one thing that this is advice for any brand owners out there who want to run ads. You need to get really, really good at getting answers from your ad, like asking questions to your ads team that allow you to get the right types of information so that you can actually go and make the ads better, because your ads team is probably going to do the bare minimum.
I also have to say this too. For anyone out there who is trying to work with an ads agency, I will say this. If your ads agency isn't spending 80% of the time talking to you about your creatives, they suck. Because especially now with Facebook and TikTok, I guess, the actual running the ads and media buying, it is not how it used to be.
You
like
just throw it in there and it picks the best ones.
Yeah, and also like I will, well, maybe I don't know if I would say that, but I will say like, if, I don't know the best way to word this, but like if your agency isn't spending time telling you, if you don't get a creative report each week, then your agency probably sucks. If your agency isn't telling you what creatives you need to make, all that stuff, if they're not scaling creative verticals, which is what we do, is like, so there's different types of creative verticals for photo and video.
Yeah.
Photo is like flat lay e-com shot, which is super product focused, on model, obviously, and then detail creatives, which highlight the details. We talked about that. And then videos, obviously, there's all the different types of videos. They need to be testing creatives, but not just you send them a bunch of creatives and they run it. Like, you need to be very detailed in exactly what you're testing. Like, oh, we're testing this batch of creatives. This one works, this one doesn't work. We'll turn these off. Like, what do you learn? Like each brand, and I talked to you about shoes, selling shoes at $150 AOV, the ads that you make for that are very different than selling $50 pair of shorts or whatever. The creative verticals are very, very different. And if your ads agency is just coming in, turning on your ads, not giving you much creative feedback, what the fuck is going to happen?
So can you explain that a little bit, what you just said there?
The creative verticals and differences between AOVs. So like what we found is it's super odd. We've ran anywhere from like the 30 to 40 AOV all the way up to the $150, $200 AOV. $150 to $200, obviously the perceived value of the product is higher. You need to have obviously higher quality creatives, but you would think that all products need high quality creatives. I would argue the opposite. We've ripped brands with not high quality products and sold them for $30 to $40. And we've tested high quality creatives and they just don't work.
Yeah.
Like we've ripped t-shirts running TikTok ads with low quality, like almost shitty looking creatives work better than high production quality. But with a shoe, for example, which is $150 to $200 AOV, TikTok ads, those shitty quality, it just doesn't work. The higher production quality, true commercial style, highlighting the details, that's what works. And like most ads agencies, bro, they just have the same little, here's what types of creatives you need to use, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Bro, get this. So one of my boys, I won't say his company because I just don't know if I'm allowed to, but his company brings in over 50 million a year, right? Fuck, I'm trying to think of what I could say. His company brings in over 50 million a year. It's growing insanely fast. Started it in his parents' house, right? I think like 4 or 5 years ago. One of the biggest up and coming brands right now. It's not the other one. It's not Comfort. Different one. He told me that one time he spent $150,000 on a production team for an ad for this new product he was dropping. Hired a director, a whole product, like literally like as if he was shooting a music video, right? For this one ad. And at around the same time, he paid a freelance photographer $150 for like a couple pictures. He said that the freelance photographer's deliverables generated him more money and had a higher ROAS than the $150,000 ad.
What was the price point of that product?
It's pretty cheap. It's a cheap.
That's not that surprising to me.
It's a consumable, but it's a cheaper consumable. It's in an industry that typically is really, really expensive and has really expensive products. And then he sells them for like insanely cheaper.
Also, I think consumables is very interesting. Like the high production quality videos we would make for like a shoe, for example, doesn't necessarily have a person in it. It's like, you know, cinematic shit of the product. With the consumable, people want to see like normal people taking the product. For sure. You know what I mean? It's very different. So yeah, ads agencies a lot of times just have like one little set thing that they give you for creatives and they just click the buttons and that's it. That's why I think that's why I put on the thing before questions to ask, like the relationship between agencies and brands, I think is very flawed for the most part.
Well, 100%. And at the end of the day, like the creative is what percentage of the success of an ads team is based on the creative?
I would say probably 90%,
right?
And that is, there's some dumb motherfuckers who just run ads wrong, but there's a certain level where like, you know how to run a fucking ad.
For sure. I guess the best way to frame it is like, if you have a killer creative with a great hook, great call to action, product description, everything, you might not even be optimizing it behind the scenes and it can still do really well.
100%.
But if you have a shitty ad creative, there's no way to change that to make it sell your product any better. You can't
out media buy shit ad creatives and shit products. You can't out media buy it.
That is, I would say like in my own business, probably 70% of my efforts, resources, and time right now are going to building out my UGC team. And everything is about creatives right now. And I'm literally like, I have like fucking 40 creators in my Discord right now. And I'm on the phone with like multiple every single day. Like, no, make sure like you're talking a little faster in this one. I would change out that hook. Like I'm actually in there like teaching these guys because that's what it takes.
Yep. I actually love influencer marketing as a sales channel too, probably more than ads at this point. Ads is like it's like a high road, but like running influencer marketing UGC is the new.
But I am running ads on these though.
Yeah. So I would run ads on them too, but also for organic, I love UGC and influencer. It's great.
100%. What are the 3 biggest mistakes that clothing brands make early on, you think?
So many mistakes. I would say number 1, thinking that ads will solve your problem coming from someone who runs ads. If you have a really, really good website and a really, really good product and offer, that is what's going to make your ads do well. Like you can't just turn on ads. That's just not how it works. They think ads are going to save them. And they think that another one, pricing, they think that, okay, I'll do it. This is the 3. Thinking ads are going to save you is number 1. Number 2 is price point, pricing your products too high. And number 3 is, I always tell people this is an imaginary line, which is what the average consumer deems acceptable. Take this imaginary line.
For price?
Just for everything.
Okay.
So for content, website, whatever. Their subconscious mind, there's a little line right here, what they deem acceptable. 90% of brands that are small that suck and don't make money, the founder deems this to be acceptable below this line, whatever it may be, content, product, whatever. They just think this product is good. I will sell it. It's good. The brands that are so successful, I use Jagger. I tell people this story a lot. I use Jagger as an example. I've watched Jagger spend 7 days straight, all day, every day, making a 30-second top of funnel video ad and going through every fucking layer in the video thing and making sure everything is perfect. And his quality that he deems acceptable is so far beyond what the average consumer is even going to think about. That's why the brand is so successful in ways that numbers and KPIs can't track. And it's like, until you're willing to be so dedicated to just every single thing that you put out, every single thing that you do is just so dialed. That's the third, I think, is like QC, quality control.
Yeah.
Are you quality controlling to the max? And then also manufacturing, they also fuck that up a lot. They way overpay for their products.
Yeah, so margins, you got to have good margins.
Good margins.
Yeah, I fully agree with all this. And some of those lessons that you just said, I only learned a couple months ago, and I wish I knew them earlier on. But yeah, 100%, like, who would have known, like, the product actually needs to be good and people actually want to buy it. Like, just because you think it's cool, it doesn't mean everybody else thinks it's cool.
Yeah.
And ads are not going to save you.
No.
And then, yeah, price point, obviously, too. Nice. That's solid. Okay, what are 3 e-commerce hacks to help scale brands faster, in your opinion, that are kind of like overlooked or not traditional?
I think one that not a lot of people talk about is terms with your manufacturer. So whether that be net 30 deals, whatever, some type of consignment that they're holding overseas for you.
What does that mean? Can you explain that? Like, I just learned about this a couple of months ago too.
Yeah. So a net 30 is basically where you may put down a small deposit or you may not put any money at all. Your manufacturer will make your products, ship them to you, and then from the date you receive, you have like a net 30 invoice that you can pay within 30 days or 30 days from now.
So you can get products in hand,
yeah,
before you even have to pay for them.
Yes, you can. And that's not something for the super startup people, but you should be. This is also a way to get better prices when you're talking to your manufacturer for the first time, is mentioning things like terms, net 30 deals, things like that, because then they're going to approach you with a different level of respect and they're not going to try to finesse the fuck out of you. So never ask your manufacturer for the MOQ. Never ask them that, because they immediately know, A, they're probably not going to make that much money from you because everybody's starting a clothing brand now. If you're asking for the MOQ, they might think maybe they get one order out of you, so they're going to tax the fuck out of you. Never ask for the MOQ.
Okay, that's
never ask for the MOQ.
I've been doing that a lot.
Bro, I always, even if I know when I'm starting a new brand, if I'm only going to order 100 units or so, I always ask for pricing on pricing sheets. This is actually hella good game for manufacturing. So if I'm approaching a new manufacturer, I always ask for pricing in units of like 500, 1,000, and 5,000, right? When I talk to them. And then I say, okay, before I do the bulk order, I want to do an influencer round of 100 units. It's not an influencer round. That's for me to test. You know what I mean? And even before I do that, this is actually decent game too. When I'm testing a new product, if I want to start a new brand or if I'm testing a product in a brand, I will run ads on either, what's it called? Test mode on Shopify, or I'll do like Notify Me or Restock Rocket. And now that I've done so many of these campaigns testing products, I know what KPIs to look at if the product is going to actually do well or not. And then, yeah, I'll just run ads for 3 days and then just refund people their money and piss away like $300, $400, $500 just to test a product rather than place a bulk order on something that may not sell.
Wait, say that again. Explain that, because I remember the Kill Crew founders talking about that a little. So you actually have to have the sample. So you'll get a sample first, right? You'll get a sample.
Yeah.
You'll get some pictures. You'll run ads on it.
Yeah. And then
Do you whitelist? Do you not have that on the actual website? Is it on like a separate page on the website or what?
It will be on the website, but well, this is so if it's a startup, so for brand new, then I'll make a website and then just run it and refund the orders or whatever, or run it on test mode where the orders don't go through. But if it's on an existing brand, say for a shoe brand or a shorts brand, if I were to launch a new product in the same type of like realm of what they're already selling, I'll use an app like Restock Rocket or Notify Me. And once, this is what like a lot of other ad agencies and people don't do. Once I start with a brand, I need benchmark KPIs. So what that means is like, say we might not even want to test this product. I still want to run ads to the product and get benchmark KPIs for what it costs to get somebody on Notify Me, what my cost per link click on a traffic campaign or on a conversion campaign would be to sell that product. I don't know if this is making sense.
No, yeah, I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
And then I will have a baseline KPI metric for a shoe or a short or whatever. And then I can kind of gauge like, okay, I just tested this product. It's way beating every KPI. We should probably sell this. Or like, holy shit, like our cost per link click is like way higher than all the other ones. We probably shouldn't drop that.
So you're saying like for the audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I have a new pair of shorts that I want to test out, right?
Yep.
You're saying I don't even put the product on the website. I just run an ad on it.
No, so you do put the product on the website, and you can either do one of two things. You can basically refund all the orders for the people who buy it, because then you have every KPI like one-to-one, as if it was out.
Yeah.
Just refund all the orders and be like, hey, this wasn't fucking actually for sale or something like that.
That's
or
annoying though.
Or what you can do is set up one of the apps, Notify Me or Restock Rocket. There's some more where the product is listed as out of stock and you just put Notify Me. So you're running an ad as if you're selling the product, so you can gauge every single KPI. So you would set up your ads and set up your website as if the product is for sale, but it's not. It just has a button that says Notify Me. And after you do that like 3, 4, 5 times on a similar SKU of a product, you have like benchmark metrics that you can go off of. So if it's below a certain one and like the metrics aren't that good, just don't sell it. If it's like way outperforming your benchmark KPIs, then it's like, we could probably drop this and actually sell it.
But even if I don't have it on the website, that's a great idea. Even just being able to take a picture, throw it on an ad, see, oh, the ROAS on this is 2.08 as opposed to like an average of 1.7 or whatever. Like not even knowing what the conversion rate would look like on the website, even if I know that the ROAS is quite a bit higher, maybe even significantly higher, that does make a lot of even being able to test out different colors and see like,
exactly, yeah.
Okay, interesting. That's useful. Okay.
And also, even if we know we're going to drop something, we'll do that. And then we'll kind of gauge, like you said, which color or size or whatever. And then we can kind of do that for when we're actually ordering inventory based off SKUs, colors, and sizes.
Nice. Smart. What are, if you could go back in time for 60 seconds to talk to your younger self, this is back when you were at the restaurant, what would you say?
Buy Bitcoin.
But okay, no, about your business.
I'm just fucking with you. I would just say, honestly, I don't really know if there's too much I would change, to be honest, because I mean, maybe I would tell myself like start getting equity in brands earlier, but also they may not have accepted it. And also, I don't know if I was ready for it. I think that pretty much everything that I've done, it's been good. I wouldn't really change much. Oh, I would change one thing. Don't move to Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. Since I signed that lease, I've been out of my apartment more than I've been in it. It just sucks. Yeah. Not for me.
What about like specifically growing brands? Like, let me rephrase that. Like, for example, what's the most costly mistake that you've ever made in your business career? Like, if you could have gone back in time to tell your younger self, like, do not do this.
I could tell you this right now. So there was, like, you know how in business, there's kind of like fork in the roads. You can either make this decision or this decision. Earlier this year, one of the first brands that we started from scratch, we picked a trend instead of picking something that would have lasted. And I think and this didn't like cost $1 million or it didn't fuck me over, but I think that is one thing I would tell myself is don't ride trends. Like, it's not drop shipping anymore. Yes, ride trends, it's fine, but don't like build things that are kind of forever rather
What about trends in terms of products? Like you have like hostage tape with the mouth breathing thing, or like Polar Pod with ice baths, or
I can see that, yeah, but I think we did that, and that is something that I regret, because I think for me, at least at this point in my journey, for when you're starting out, trends are big. Like you can make a way and make some money. But now I'm at the point where it's like, I don't really need a trend to make money. I would rather build something that I can sell or that matters. So like this year, we had like we built out everything like branding decks, tech packs, got all the manufacturing terms and everything good. And there was 2 products, and we had like behind the scenes knowledge on one of the products already performing well, but we also had it on another product. So we knew basically both products would work well. One of them could have been a legacy product, could have built a real brand off of it. The other one was just like some of the craziest KPIs I've ever seen. But it was like kind of, I don't know, like gay. Like I could never post about it. It was stupid ass product. We ran it for a little bit, and then we were like, okay, it still takes the same amount of time to run this business as building a real one.
Yeah.
So like that was something I would say, like,
interesting.
If you're young, maybe hop on a trend and make some money. But if you're already making money, like don't let the red dress syndrome of like, oh, this is a hot product, I have to hop on it. I think that was a mistake.
Yeah, I agree with you actually. Yeah. Once you already know what you're doing, it's a complete waste of time, right? Focus on something long term. But if it is your first business, yeah, take advantage of like the hot season or whatever. Like, you know, I know that when we did Polar Pod, like ended up not working out, but we learned a lot from that, right? Yeah. And a lot of the lessons I learned from that, I was able to use in SquidHaus now, which is like my long-term thing.
Yeah.
And that was just because I was very new to the whole e-commerce game and everything. All right.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you have any other sauce when it comes to ads, building clothing brands specifically, before I ask my last question?
I think the only thing I didn't really go over, we talked about ads, website, how to test products, things like that, creatives. The only thing that I will say is if you're starting a brand from scratch, me and you just talked about this earlier, you're probably not the greatest designer in the entire world. It's probably best to take advice from someone who was one of the best designers in the world, Virgil, and use the 3% rule. I'm not a fucking genius, but I've made a lot of money selling clothes, and I don't even know shit about clothes. Like, steal like an artist, you know? Like, your first product, especially if you're going to order bulk and you don't have all these strategies on how to test products and stuff like that, please just do something that'll work, because you can fuck up and place a bulk order if you're not in a great position. Please steal like an artist.
Yeah, I mean, I'll expose myself a little bit. So like the shorts I'm wearing right now, right, which is kind of like our second pair of shorts that we came out with. I spent 7 months working on these myself. I don't know anything about clothes, and I just was trying to make something that I thought was really cool. I probably 12 different samples over the course of 7 months, multiple different manufacturers. And then finally I got on a call with the founder of Built Basics, who sold the company actually. And he was like, bro, what are you doing? Like, you don't have the time, the expertise, or the resources to be making your own products like this. You don't even have the manufacturers that are skilled enough to make expert products like this.
Yeah.
What you need to be doing, I was going hiring designers, paying them a shit ton of money to make me tech packs, then sending that to the manufacturers. They didn't even know how to read the tech packs because their styles were different. And I realized like what I should be doing is taking a product that I like, sending it to the manufacturer saying, can you please change this, this, and this? And then selling that, because I knew that there were people that wanted to buy it. So if I could go back in time, I would definitely tell myself that.
Me too. This is actually the first product I ever made, is these shoes.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and I'm actually an idiot, because this is actually handmade in Italy.
Wow.
And I would not do that again, because like I tried to re-up after I sold them, and they were like, oh, we don't do another run of those until next year.
Damn.
So it's like, yeah, just steal like an artist. Don't be the most creative motherfucker in the room.
Yeah, I agree. Well, dude, this has been great. I kind of want to finish it off with, you know, obviously you've been very successful behind the scenes, for your age at least. Now you're doing content. His videographer's with us, carrying around this big rig. Like, why content? Why now? What's your goal with this?
Yeah, so like I talked about with the agency before, we had no client acquisition system. So now that I am partnered in factories, about to acquire a percentage of a 3PL, have the agency obviously, and want to partner with brands, this is just the easiest way to do it. And I also think it's pretty fun. Like, I enjoy it. you gave me a little inspiration. You're like the first entrepreneur bro I ever followed on TikTok. So,
dude, yeah, I think who was it? I watched a podcast the other day with these huge business people, and all three of them on the podcast said, even though they're entrepreneur first, they actually enjoy content. They say content is the most fun thing they do, and it's the most valuable thing they do.
I agree, yeah. And already, I mean, I just started this like probably month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and like already the gains and like connections that I made from it is fucking more than the 2 years prior, which is crazy.
And it's exponential, bro. You don't need to be the smartest person or the, the best person. You just gotta you have to be willing to put yourself out there, and your network will expand like crazy. But dude, thank you for coming on. It's been very helpful. I hope you guys got some good info out of this. I'm going to link all of Jared's stuff, obviously. So go check his page out. He's about to start hammering content like crazy. Yes, much more useful in terms of the back end than my content even is. So go check it out.
Thank you, bro. I actually really appreciate you for having me.
Hell yeah, man. Of course. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. Subscribe. See you guys.